billed as a women's retreat weekend where you'll meet other women and have so many activities and drink by the pool and spend time with the Duchess of Sussex. Well, turns out she showed up for about 30 minutes and then she split immediately. They were then shacked up with strangers. They paid thousands of dollars for this dumb thing. And needless to say, a lot of them are now furious. So much so that they're demanding refunds.
What happened here, that the girl was drawing and Meghan was fiddling with her jewelry, merching her stuff and whatnot. And the girl put the book away from Meghan. No, you're not gonna touch my book. You're not gonna touch my drawings. Get away, you witch. Yeah, we have this video comparison between 2018 and 2026. And here you can see the big difference between the two. You have actual crowds, you had actual expectation, people. There was a lot of energy back then that is undeniable compared to what is this? Yeah, it is sad.
No one expected Meghan Markle's luxury Australian retreat to unravel this fast. But within hours, what was supposed to be a glamorous, soul-healing escape for elite guests had turned into a full-blown public disaster. Behind the polished smiles, curated wellness sessions, and promises of transformational healing, tensions were already boiling. Guests who paid thousands for exclusive access were reportedly left furious, confused, and demanding one thing Meghan never saw coming: cash back.
The reason why it went down well in 2018, Paul, is because the Australian public didn't know Meghan Markle very well. Well, they know her now. And what do they know her to be? A gold-digging grifter.
I love you.
What began as a star-powered getaway quickly spiraled into chaos when whispers of broken promises, last-minute changes, and tense backstage confrontations started spreading through the retreat like wildfire. Fans are shocked as insiders claim guests were blindsided by downgraded accommodations.
They think somehow that Australians are a little naive, a little easy to skin as far as flogging her as ever merchandise. I think she thinks we're, hicks down under that won't see through it all and be just so honoured that she's graced us with her spreads.
Cancelled private sessions, and what one attendee allegedly called a luxury scam dressed in beige linen. Emotions ran high as tempers flared behind closed doors, and by the second day, raised voices were reportedly echoing through the resort halls. But the real drama exploded when furious attendees began confronting staff directly, demanding refunds and accusing organisers of misleading them from the start. Witnesses say Meghan was left scrambling as VIP guests threatened to walk out. Social media posts mysteriously vanished.
You know what? Anyone silly enough to pay this sort of money, I have zero sympathy for. So, whatever.
You've stolen my thunder. Exactly my thoughts. If you are stupid enough to have bought a ticket to sit with that woman for whatever length of time, then suck it up, princess.
And the entire event descended into damage control panic. And as the complaints mounted and the cameras kept rolling, one thing became painfully clear. This was no longer a wellness retreat. It was a royal meltdown in real time. By sunrise, the mood inside the luxury coastal retreat had already shifted from polished excitement to quiet suspicion. Guests who had arrived the night before expecting candlelit meditation circles, private sound baths, and exclusive one-on-one sessions with Meghan's carefully selected wellness experts instead woke to confusion.
Everyone thought that she was going to be there for the weekend. She wasn't. But also, apparently only around 119 people were there instead of the 300 that were in, there were 300 tickets sold out. Which also is hilarious because Gemma, up on the Besties Instagram had put up, we still have rooms left. Only a few. Right before, and of course, Meghan's people called her like, take that down. And so it was taken down, but not before I got a screenshot.
Long queues, and whispers spreading faster than the morning sea breeze. The glossy itinerary they had been sent weeks earlier, filled with promises of personalized healing, intimate fireside chats, and curated transformational experiences.
Another source says a friend of mine is absolutely furious. She paid all that money and was promised a whole weekend full of fun, food, drinks, activities, only to find out Meghan stayed for 30 minutes. The guest was reportedly left confused as to what's happening and with expectations on far more access to the Duchess throughout the weekend.
How many people did attend? It's Meghan, the Duchess of Sausages. How could Meghan, the Duchess of Sausages, rouse this small crowd? I'm pretty sure that not every seat was full.
Had suddenly been replaced with a stripped-down printed schedule taped near the lobby desk. Several high-paying guests stood frozen, staring at the page in disbelief. "Where are the private sessions?" one woman allegedly asked, clutching her welcome bag so tightly her knuckles turned white. "That was the entire reason I flew here." Another guest, visibly irritated, reportedly snapped, "You charged premium prices for premium experience. This is not what was advertised." Staff members, already looking tense, attempted to calm the growing frustration with tight smiles and vague explanations. They insisted the changes were minor adjustments and blamed unexpected logistical challenges. But that explanation only made things worse. Guests had paid enormous sums for exclusivity, and now they were being told the most expensive features of the retreat had either been delayed, merged into group sessions, or quietly removed altogether. It didn't take long for Meghan's name to start circulating in frustrated conversations. Though she had not yet appeared publicly that morning, her presence loomed over every complaint. Guests weren't just upset about missing activities. They were upset because her name had been the selling point. Her image had been splashed across promotional materials, her influence woven into every promise of healing and luxury. To many attendees, this wasn't just a retreat. It was Meghan's retreat. And expectations had been set accordingly. By mid-morning, emotions ran high in the dining pavilion when guests discovered even breakfast had become part of the problem. What had been described in promotional materials as a lavish wellness brunch with organic chef-curated menus turned out to be a sparse buffet of fruit platters, herbal tea, and gluten-free pastries that ran out in under 20 minutes. Witnesses say one guest laughed in disbelief before muttering, "This is the luxury experience." That was the moment the mood began to harden. At one corner table, two women who had flown in from Melbourne were reportedly overheard comparing the event to a celebrity-branded cash grab. Nearby, another guest had allegedly begun listing every promised feature that had either vanished or been reduced. The complaints were becoming specific, detailed, and increasingly difficult for staff to dismiss. Then came the first real confrontation. Just before noon, one VIP guest, described by insiders as a wealthy donor with connections to several high-profile wellness brands, marched directly to the front desk and demanded answers. Witnesses say her voice cut through the lobby so sharply that conversations stopped mid-sentence.
But it's all me. It's incredibly intensely boring.
And not worth $1.
This was terrible. What is this? Is this Meghan and Harry in the middle of what? Nothing. This is not AI. This is no people in here waiting for them. No crowds. They had these barriers, like they were expecting, I don't know, hundreds of people to flood the streets of Sydney and be excited about, oh, there's gonna be the sausages in there, but no, nothing of the sort.
"I did not pay this amount of money to be managed like a conference attendee," she reportedly said. "I paid for access. I paid for exclusivity. And I want to know exactly who thought this was acceptable." Staff members tried to usher her aside, but by then, the damage was done. Heads had turned. Phones had quietly appeared in hands. Guests who had been trying to stay polite were now openly listening. And then, for the first time that day, Meghan finally appeared. According to multiple onlookers, the Duchess entered the lobby dressed in neutral tones, composed but visibly tense, flanked by two assistants who looked as though they had already been putting out fires all morning. At first, her arrival silenced the room. For a brief moment, there was that familiar pause celebrity creates, the instinctive hush, the flicker of attention, the possibility that her presence alone might calm the storm. It didn't. The VIP guest turned toward Meghan almost immediately. "Are you aware of what's happening here?" she allegedly asked, her voice sharp but controlled. The room went still. Witnesses say Meghan froze for half a second, her expression tightening just enough for nearby guests to notice. One assistant stepped forward as if to intercept, but the guest didn't back down. "Because your name is on this," she continued. "And right now, people are asking what exactly they paid for." The silence that followed was described as brutal. Meghan, according to insiders, attempted to smile and reassure the room that adjustments had been made to improve the flow of the experience. But that answer landed badly. Guests were no longer looking for polished language. They wanted accountability. And as murmurs rose again across the lobby, it became painfully obvious this was no longer a scheduling issue. It was becoming something far worse. The tension in the lobby snapped almost instantly. Meghan's carefully measured response did little to calm the room, and if anything, It only deepened the frustration already simmering beneath the surface. Guests exchanged sharp glances as her words landed with a thud. Improve the flow was not the answer anyone wanted to hear after thousands had already been spent on what was sold as an intimate, high-end experience. One woman near the reception desk reportedly let out a bitter laugh before saying, "So we paid more to receive less." And that single sentence seemed to shift the energy from disappointment to open revolt. What happened next turned the retreat's polished image into pure damage control chaos. The VIP guest who had first confronted Meghan stepped closer, refusing to let the moment be smoothed over with vague reassurances. Witnesses say her tone became colder, sharper, and impossible to ignore. "No," she allegedly said, holding Meghan's gaze. "You do not get to call this a flow issue. This is misrepresentation." That word hit the room like a slap. Misrepresentation. Suddenly, the complaints no longer sounded like minor guest frustrations. They sounded serious, legal, even. And the moment that word was spoken, several guests reportedly began recording. Meghan's assistants immediately moved in, trying to lower the temperature and redirect the conversation away from the growing crowd. But the damage was already done. Guests who had stayed quiet all morning now began speaking over one another. Complaints came fast and loud. One demanded to know why the promised private wellness consults had been cancelled without notice. Another asked why the exclusive beachfront dinner had been replaced with a group networking supper in a generic event hall. A third guest, visibly furious, accused organisers of using Meghan's name to inflate expectations while delivering what she called a glorified influencer retreat. Emotions ran high as the room erupted into overlapping accusations, and the family was left divided behind the scenes as staff scrambled to contain what was quickly becoming a public relations nightmare. According to insiders, Meghan tried to regain control by offering a calm explanation, insisting unforeseen changes had been necessary and promising guests would be taken care of. But by then, trust had already fractured. Taken care of how? One guest reportedly shot back, with another herbal tea and a printed apology. That line, witnesses say, drew gasps, nervous laughter, and a visible tightening in Meghan's expression. Fans are shocked by how quickly the atmosphere turned hostile, with several attendees later claiming the retreat's glamorous marketing had collapsed the moment real questions were asked. Then came the twist no one in Meghan's team was prepared for. A guest from Sydney, described by witnesses as quiet for most of the morning, suddenly stepped forward and revealed she had screenshots of the original promotional package saved on her phone. Not summaries, not vague descriptions. Screenshots of every luxury promise the retreat had made before guests arrived. One by one, she began reading them aloud in front of the room. Private curated sunrise meditation with Meghan-approved wellness mentors. Gone. Luxury oceanfront dining under the stars. Replaced. Personalized one-on-one transformation consults. Cancelled. With every line she read, the atmosphere grew heavier. Staff reportedly looked stricken. Meghan's assistants exchanged panicked glances. And guests who had still been willing to give the retreat the benefit of the doubt now looked openly betrayed. That was the moment the confrontation stopped being emotional and became strategic. Guests were no longer just venting. They were comparing notes, sharing receipts, cross-checking promises. The whispers of disappointment had evolved into organized anger, and the mood in the room changed in a way staff could no longer control. Witnesses say Meghan, realizing the conversation had slipped beyond recovery, quietly stepped back as one assistant moved to end the exchange. But as she turned, another guest's voice cut through the lobby with a question no one could ignore. If this isn't what we paid for, then when do we get our money back? And just like that, the word refund was no longer being whispered. It was being demanded out loud. The moment the word refund rang through the lobby, the atmosphere changed again, sharper this time, more dangerous. What had started as scattered complaints now became a coordinated uprising. Guests who had spent the morning murmuring in corners were suddenly united, and once that collective frustration locked into a single demand, the retreat's carefully curated image began collapsing in real time. Witnesses say several attendees immediately pulled up payment confirmations on their phones, waiving invoices, booking emails, and promotional screenshots like evidence in a courtroom. The mood was no longer emotional. It was transactional, and that made it far more difficult to contain. One guest reportedly stepped forward and said what everyone else had already begun thinking. "This is not disappointment," she said. "This is a breach." That single word sent another wave of panic through the room. Staff who had spent the morning offering smiles and soft reassurances were now visibly rattled, whispering into headsets, glancing toward Meghan's team, and avoiding direct eye contact with the increasingly hostile crowd. Fans are shocked by how quickly the retreat's luxury branding dissolved into what insiders described as a full-scale refund standoff. According to witnesses, Meghan's lead coordinator finally stepped in and attempted to regain control with what was clearly meant to be a polished crisis statement. She thanked guests for their honesty, acknowledged their concerns, and assured the room that alternative accommodations and revised premium offerings were being explored. But the corporate language only made things worse. Several guests reportedly laughed in disbelief. One woman snapped, "Stop rebranding the problem and answer the question." Another raised her voice and said, "Are refunds being issued, yes or no?" Emotions ran high as the room turned openly combative, and every vague answer seemed to confirm what guests had already begun suspecting, that nobody in Meghan's camp had a real solution. Then the second major twist hit. Just as staff attempted to usher the most vocal guests into a private side lounge, a former event contractor allegedly came forward with a claim that sent the room into stunned silence. According to multiple attendees, the contractor, who had reportedly worked on retreat logistics before being dismissed weeks earlier, quietly told a small group of guests that several premium features had allegedly been cut before the event even began. Not due to emergencies. Not due to last-minute venue issues. Cut in advance. Quietly. Deliberately. Witnesses say the claim spread across the room in minutes. "Are you saying they knew?" one guest reportedly asked. The contractor's answer, according to insiders, was short and devastating. They knew. That was the sentence that broke the room. Guests who had been angry now looked outright stunned. Because if true, this was no longer a poorly managed luxury retreat spiraling out of control. This was something much worse. The accusations sharpened instantly. Guests began openly questioning whether the retreat had been oversold from the start. Some accused organizers of knowingly marketing premium access they never intended to deliver. Others began demanding written documentation, formal statements, and immediate financial escalation. The family was left divided behind the scenes as members of Meghan's own team reportedly began blaming one another in hushed but increasingly tense exchanges near the back office corridor. And then came the social media problem. As the confrontation escalated, guests began noticing something else. Posts were disappearing. Several attendees who had uploaded polished content from the retreat the night before suddenly realized their tagged stories had vanished from the event's shared page. Others claimed comments questioning the retreat's changes had been quietly deleted within minutes. That discovery poured gasoline on an already volatile situation. "So now we're censoring guests too," one attendee reportedly shouted. "First you changed the event, now you're trying to erase the backlash." Witnesses say Meghan, who had remained mostly silent during the latest wave of confrontation, looked visibly shaken as the accusations intensified around her. The composed smile was gone. The polished calm had cracked. And as more guests gathered near reception, voices rising, phones recording, and staff losing control by the minute, one reality became impossible to ignore. This was no longer just a luxury retreat gone wrong. It was becoming a full public scandal. And the worst part for Meghan was that the chaos was no longer happening behind closed doors. It was starting to spread. By the time afternoon light spilled across the retreat grounds, the situation had escalated far beyond anything organizers could contain. What was once meant to be a serene, private luxury experience had now transformed into a tense standoff between dissatisfied guests and a visibly overwhelmed event team. Conversations that had started in whispers were now openly broadcast across the lobby, dining area, and outdoor terraces. Every corner of the venue seemed to carry the same question: how did this go so wrong? Guests were no longer waiting for explanations, they were demanding resolutions. Several attendees reportedly formed an informal group near the reception desk, coordinating their complaints and comparing what they had been promised versus what they actually received. One guest was overheard saying, "If 10 of us are missing the same things, this isn't a misunderstanding, it's a pattern." That sentiment quickly spread, and the tone of the gathering shifted again, this time toward collective action. Refund requests were no longer isolated demands, they were becoming organized. Inside the staff coordination room, tension reportedly reached breaking point. Team members could be seen moving in and out, holding urgent discussions, and attempting to contact senior management outside the venue. Witnesses described the atmosphere as controlled panic, with conflicting instructions being passed down every few minutes. Some staff members were allegedly arguing over whether partial refunds should be offered immediately or if the situation could still be salvaged through compensation packages and future event credits. But with guests now openly filming and documenting everything, the window for quiet resolution had already closed. Meghan, according to multiple accounts, remained behind the scenes during the most intense phase of the escalation. Those who saw her described a stark shift from her earlier composed presence. The calm, media-trained demeanor that had greeted guests on arrival appeared strained, replaced by a noticeably quieter, more withdrawn energy. One insider claimed she was seen in a private corridor speaking with advisors in what appeared to be a tense, fast-moving discussion, occasionally pausing as if weighing every possible outcome. While no official statement came directly from her, her absence from the public-facing resolution only fueled speculation among guests. Outside, the emotional temperature continued to rise. Some guests demanded immediate exit arrangements, refusing to stay another night. Others insisted on formal written assurances before leaving the property. A few even threatened to escalate the matter legally if their complaints were not acknowledged in writing before departure. The retreat's once peaceful aesthetic, soft lighting, ocean views, curated wellness music, now stood in sharp contrast to the confrontational reality unfolding across its grounds. Fans are shocked at how quickly an event marketed as transformational wellness had devolved into a reputational crisis playing out in real time. Then came the final turning point. Late in the afternoon, staff began quietly distributing printed resolution forms, outlining vague compensation options such as partial refunds, future credit vouchers, and complimentary access to unspecified future events. But instead of calming the situation, the move triggered fresh backlash. Several guests reportedly refused to accept the documents, calling them damage control paperwork rather than genuine accountability. One attendee was heard saying, "You don't patch trust with vouchers." As frustration peaked once again, the group of organized guests made a final collective request, a direct acknowledgement from leadership and a clear refund timeline. Without that, they stated, they would escalate the matter publicly once they left the venue. That ultimatum shifted the energy one last time, forcing staff into urgent closed-door deliberations. By evening, the retreat was no longer functioning as an exclusive wellness escape. It had become a contained crisis site, with guests preparing to depart, staff bracing for fallout, and unanswered questions hanging heavily over every interaction. Whether refunds would be issued, reputations repaired, or further details exposed remained uncertain. But one thing was clear to everyone involved. What was meant to be a high-profile luxury retreat had ended in controversy that would not stay hidden behind resort walls for long. And just like that, what was meant to be a glamorous, once-in-a-lifetime wellness escape has turned into a full-blown controversy that no one saw coming. Guests arrived expecting healing, luxury, and exclusivity. But instead, they're leaving with frustration, unanswered questions, and demands for accountability that are still hanging in the air. Whether refunds will actually be issued, whether promises were truly broken, or whether this was simply a catastrophic miscommunication gone too far, those answers are still unclear, and that uncertainty is exactly what's keeping this story alive. Now the biggest question remains. Was this just a badly managed event that spiraled out of control, or is there something deeper behind the chaos that guests are only now beginning to uncover? With conflicting accounts, rising anger, and whispers of internal mismanagement, this situation is far from over. And as more attendees begin to speak out, the pressure is only going to intensify. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe this retreat was unfairly judged by disappointed guests? Or do you think the backlash is fully justified based on what they were promised versus what they received? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is still unfolding, and your opinion matters in the middle of all this chaos. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next explosive update. Because in the world of celebrity drama and behind-the-scenes chaos, the next twist is always closer than you think.